Graves has been a menace these days, with tons of people complaining about her being overpowered and unfun to play against. Even pro players aren't immune to this. Here, you can see Poshipop, frequently the #1 Eternus player in North America, struggling to deal with Graves' skulls. But I have to admit, as the resident Graves expert here, this clip made me a little upset. Despite Poshi being a much better and more well-rounded player than me, he was still woefully unprepared to counter Graves in this moment. In general, there is a severe lack of understanding on how to counter Graves in the Deadlock community, and I, for one, can't let that slide. In this video, I'm going to give you your very own one-stop shop on how to counter Graves, and trust me, there are a lot of ways you can go about it. Let's start off with the secret Chinese technique that you've probably never seen before. You see, you can actually counter all of Graves' skulls with just one tier 2 item. Which item am I referring to? Well, it's an item that most people have probably forgotten even exists, and that is Return Fire, which is an item that automatically fires a bullet towards any attacker who damages you with their abilities or weapon. So if I make this test dummy by Return Fire, throw out the skulls, and then activate it, it's not working! What the heck? Well, that's because he also needs to take a little bit of gun damage. It's very finicky, but if he's actively getting shot at, then the skulls just melt. As soon as they go to bite him, they explode, which is a very, very helpful technique indeed. Especially because it doesn't actually matter how many skulls Graves throws at you. They will all just explode the very next time they try to attack, as long as you are consistently taking damage and proccing the Return Fire. And as you can see, it doesn't matter who's actually shooting. Infernus here is shooting, and he's still proccing the Return Fire, and he actually killed a lot of the skulls there because they happened to be attacking while he was shooting. So it doesn't even need to be the Graves. If you're in the thick of a fight, and people are constantly shooting at you, then activate Return Fire, and you don't have to worry about any of the skulls anymore. But let's talk a little bit more about how you can counter these skulls. So if you have an Echo Shards Graves user throwing 12 skulls at you, it can be quite difficult to kill them all. And yeah, especially if you have a weapon that isn't like super fast fire rate like a Haze or a Wraith. It took me a long time to kill those skulls, and I took so much damage in the process. But there is something you can do that can kill all of the skulls basically instantly. Let me show that to you. So let's get another 12 skulls out here, and oh, look at that, I could just light melee, and I could burst all of them down immediately. But this is a little bit harder to do because of a habit that, well, almost everybody has, and that is the habit of moving around. So if I get all these skulls following me again here, and I just start running around and I try to melee these, I have to take several more swipes, and I basically have to stop in place too to actually melee them. But if I'm just constantly running around, I mean, look at how many swipes I have to do to kill the skulls. Whereas, if I just stop, I can kill all of them in just like 1 or 2 hits, which is a major difference and is going to result in you taking a lot less damage. And every single character can do this no matter the type of gun that they have, because it's just a light melee. Now, you will still take some damage. They'll still probably get at least 1 hit on you, but that's a lot better than letting them hit you repeatedly. And at the end of the day, if Graves couldn't get 1 hit on you, she would be the worst character in the entire game. So it's still reasonable for her to hit you once, but you don't want to let her hit you more than once. But if you're playing a gun build in particular, then well, you're in luck, because an item you were probably going to buy anyways is, as a matter of fact, the best counter to Graves in the entire game. And I am, of course, talking about the expensive but very useful Ricochet, which allows your bullets to ricochet on enemies near your target. Watch what happens here. Let's throw the skulls out, and then up, 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 up! They're gone! No more skulls! And Ricochet is actually the absolute best way to deal with these skulls, because it's the only way you're going to avoid taking 1 hit from the skulls outright. Most of the skulls will not even touch you if you're actively shooting at the skulls the minute they spawn, because, whoops, the Ricochet is just gonna kill them all. And if you just happen to be shooting at the Graves already and she throws them near her, yeah, you never even have to aim at the skulls, and they all just evaporate. But the big reason why this item is so good against Graves is because it also works against the Ghouls. You can be shooting at anything, and you'll still be able to damage the Ghouls in the process and take them out. But if you need a little bit more help at dealing with Ghouls, you should always think about buying a Monster Rounds, which is a very cheap item. You probably want to buy it on lane anyways, just because of how good it is, and this will allow you to kill the minions before they ever even reach you or any of your allies, and you'll be able to bounce your shots with the Ricochet and hit other people in the process. Now, obviously, most builds probably shouldn't buy Ricochet, but if you are playing a gun build, like Wraith, who wants to farm a lot, or Mirage, who wants to spread his Jin's marks around, or Infernus with his Afterburn, or anything like that, and you're up against the Graves, you should prioritize getting Ricochet, arguably even earlier in your build than you were planning to get it, because of how hard it shuts down this character. And if you're playing someone who can't buy Ricochet, refer to the aforementioned stop in place, melee all the skulls, and then move on with your day technique. But let's talk a little bit more about these obnoxious ghouls, shall we? Oh my gosh, they just explode, they knock you around, they deal a ton of damage. How do you deal with these if you don't have Ricochet and Monster Rounds? Well, the best thing you can do against them is just position yourself smartly. The ghouls are kind of stupid. They're really bad at pathfinding. And if you happen to just be on a high ground like this, they're going to take absolutely ages to find their way up to you, if they even can find their way up there at all. So, yeah, just abuse the high ground. It's a very good technique against a lot of heroes, and it works very well against Graves. And of course, you also want to try and kill the Tombstone, because if you break this with 2 heavy melees, then it'll stop spawning ghouls. But as you can see there, I took a lot of damage from that. That's a little bit spooky. It's still some guaranteed damage for Graves, and she's probably going to end up killing you, and you also run the risk of getting parried. So how can you deal with the Tombstone? Well, first and foremost, you probably want to wait for the initial 2 ghouls to die or wander away, and you can kill them very quickly with an AoE ability. If I go ahead and just throw this down, I can blast these guys and mostly kill them and then try to get in there and hit the Tombstone. But a lot of Graves players will also try to parry bait the Tombstone. Dealing with this is pretty straightforward. If you see a Graves hugging her Tombstone, then you want to just weave your heavy melee away and try and get her to parry. It just goes back to regular old melee mind games, which is really beyond the scope of this video, but try not to get parried in the process. Weave your heavy melee away for the first time if you need to. But there are also some specific characters who can actually destroy the Tombstone with abilities, and if you're playing one of those heroes, then you need to be mindful of this and try to prioritize the Tombstone for your team. So Viscus is the best example of this. If I throw the Tombstone out, and then I upgrade my Puddle Punch here to tier 3. It allows the Puddle Punch to deal heavy melee damage, and then that means I can just bam, bop, and there goes the Tombstone. 2 Puddle Punches is all it takes. Any character who does heavy melee damage with an ability is able to kill the Tombstone with that ability, including Billy here as well with the tier 3 bash down. So Graves, give me another example Tombstone. Let's go ahead and bash down, bam, bash down again, bop, and no more Tombstone. And the great thing about these abilities is that you don't run the risk of getting parried by the Graves, and they often come with some other benefit too. For Billy, well, he's just got a lot of AoE damage. Graves really doesn't want to get hit by this, and it can also damage some of the ghouls in the process, maybe even kill them and stop you from getting blown up by them. But Viscus, well, he could just kill the Tombstone from a mile away, and he doesn't really have to put himself in danger. So Viscus is an excellent counter to Graves in that regard. And obviously, if you don't have a heavy melee ability, but you do have area damage, use said area damage to kill the ghouls. 7 is an excellent example of a character who can just kill all of these ghouls. Perhaps with a bit of items and upgrades first, though. Holy. So yeah, get some upgrades and then watch the ghouls just evaporate. And you can even spawn camp the Tombstone just by, like, throwing a lightning ball down here, and then all the ghouls will instantly break. And so that's another way to basically make this whole Tombstone a non-issue. And of course, as 7, you might want to press your ultimate to deal with all the ghouls, but oh no! It doesn't deal with the skulls! I'm taking massive damage during this ability, and I can't do anything about it. I would just have to cancel it, and then bash the skulls like that, and that's really a problem. So what can you do in a situation like that? The most important thing to do is to make sure that you bait the skulls out before you try to cast a channeled ability, which will not be able to deal with the skulls. So if I throw a Jar of Deadest Graves here, I have a 10-second cooldown before I'm able to use that ability again. So if I'm the 7 player, and I'm looking to ult, I want to see, oh, Graves just threw a Jar of Dead. Kill the Jar of Dead, and then I've got usually about a 7 or 8 second window to use my ultimate without having to worry about being attacked by skulls. And then once, well, her cooldown's back, then I have to worry about the skulls again, but, you know, that's 6 or 7 seconds that she's been under the effects of my lightning cloud, and so she's probably not going to be attacking me too hard anymore. But it's one of those abilities that you have to bait out, similar to how you would bait out abilities from other characters. This is actually very analogous to how you would treat Dynamo if you're playing Lash. So Lash players often groan and grumble because whenever they ult, Dynamo can just use Quantum Entanglement and save his entire team. So in that case, you'll want to either silence the Dynamo or wait until Dynamo has used his Quantum Entanglement on something else. So that way, you can ult in peace as the Lash, and you won't have to worry about that anymore. Same concept with Graves. If I'm playing 7, wait for her to use the Jar of Dead, kill the Jar of Dead, then press my ultimate, and I will have nothing to worry about for the next 8 seconds. But how about this ability? Ugh! I'm immobilized! Oh! And then I'm blown up. That is really frustrating, so how do we deal with it? Well, the first, most general advice is just that you should try to stay airborne. You can gracefully just double jump over this wall, and yeah, you will never get caught by the grasping hands. Notably, however, you cannot actually dash jump over the wall. The dash jump does not go high enough, and you will get immobilized like this, so you have to clear it with a full double jump just like that. The second thing you have to understand is how Graves players tend to use their wall. They like to put the wall behind you, and then push you into the wall by being aggressive and trying to get you to retreat. And so if you're fighting Graves, you need to be aware of the likely choke points that she's going to put the wall, and listen out for the sound of the wall deploying. It makes a very distinct sound. So once you hear that sound, you have like 1 second to get behind the wall without it trapping you before the wall is finally armed, and then you do actually have to worry about the wall for real. But whenever you fight Graves, you need to be mentally prepared to listen out for that sound and avoid the wall whenever possible. Otherwise, well, yeah, you are going to get trapped and it will not be a good day for you. Furthermore, you want to avoid fighting Graves in areas where her wall is basically unavoidable. Like this hallway, for example. All Graves has to do to completely deny the entire hallway is put a wall vertically like that, and then bam, all of a sudden, good luck getting through here without being trapped. It's almost impossible. And, well, if you're not careful, you can end up like this guy. Oh, Lash! He's still got my little gremlins on him, and he's dead. So if you're fighting Graves, try to fight her somewhere a little more open, like, well, the mid-boss arena here. And if you see Graves in a certain area like this hallway about to trap the door, try to just go to a different exit. Do not fight her in this hallway with this wall. It's just a bad idea. Some Graves players will also try to be sneaky and deploy the wall behind a veil just like this, and it's really hard to see that. I mean, without the ghouls there, you'd be hard-pressed to tell that there's a wall here in the heat of battle, and so just try to be cognizant, and again, listen out for the audio cue, because the wall plays a very distinctive sound, and you want to try and avoid it using that. But there are 2 secret weapons for dealing with this wall in the item shop that are really powerful and really nice. The first one is the Warp Stone, which allows you to teleport a short distance away. So if you're playing against the Graves here and she puts a wall in this hallway, normally this is kind of difficult to get past. But if you just Warp Stone past it, you can keep chasing Graves, and she won't be able to use her wall effectively against you. The second tip is, of course, the debuff remover, or dispel magic as it's called nowadays, and any other form of anti-CC items, whether it's indomitable, unstoppable, just something that can help you if you do find yourself in the unfortunate situation of getting stuck in the grasping hands, because it happens even to the best of us. Sometimes there's just too much going on, you can't listen for the sound of the grasping hands effectively, and Graves will snag you. So you just need to have a backup plan in case that happens, and most characters want to buy Dispel Magic or some sort of anti-CC item anyways, like Reactive Barrier, and so it just slots nicely into your general items and is great against the grasping hands. Finally, let's talk about Graves' gun, and by extension, murdering this stupid, petulant child. So minion builds are all the craze right now, and you won't see too many people building around her gun anymore because, frankly, it just doesn't do very much damage. You can still apply a lot of debuffs with it, but it's just not really a super effective tool at the moment, at least in my opinion. And the way you counter gun Graves is very similar to how you counter every other gun build in the game. If the gun damage is actually what's getting to you, then of course you can get options like bullet resilience, or of course fire rate slow in the form of something like Juggernaut or Suppressor if you're playing someone like Seven, and you'll be able to mitigate her gun damage. And then for the debuffs, again, Dispel Magic. Wow, if you get trapped in the wall and she's got debuffs on you, you can clear all of that in one fell swoop. It is a very nice item indeed. But the best thing you can do to stop gun Graves from vexing you is just walk away. Like, this is the shortest ranged weapon in the entire game. If you're able to kite Graves and keep her at a medium distance like this, her weapon is completely helpless. It will not do anything. This is more effective on an agile character like Lash or Celeste, or a long-ranged character like Vindicta, who will still be able to deal effective damage to Graves from a distance. But even a character like Dynamo can still play out of Graves' effective range and hit her with his attacks. That's a max level kinetic pulse right there, and yeah, there's no way she can hit me. I haven't really moved, and yeah, this is just absolutely stomping her. So yeah, just keep her at a distance. She's really slow and really short-ranged, so just try to kite her if you can. And because Graves is so slow and so squishy, crowd control is a really effective tool against her compared to most characters. She's not able to reposition easily. She only has 2 stamina bars, and, well, she's pretty slow when she's in combat. She has a lot of sprint speed now, but sprint speed doesn't help you when you're getting shot at. So, you can use displacement tools to keep her at a distance, like Dynamo Stomp again, because it slows her down, or you can use these types of tools offensively to try and kill her. For example, Bebop can hook her out of position, uppercut her to the Guardian, and she doesn't have a lot of mobility, so this is often a death sentence for her. You should really try to take advantage of crowd control effects, and in particular displacement abilities, to put Graves in a position that she just can't escape. Oh, and one more tip that's so obvious I forgot to mention it. Buy some gosh darn Spirit Resist. Yeah, the skulls hit like a truck, but if you have some Spirit Resist, they're still going to take a very long time to kill you. Spirit Resist is doubly important against Graves because her primary fire steals Spirit Resist from you. Look at my Spirit Resist on the bottom left here. It's been reduced by 13%. What the heck? Now I only have 17% Spirit Armor. That's no good. So, yeah, if you have no Spirit Resist on your character, your Spirit Resist will be in the negatives, and she'll basically just get a massive damage multiplier against you. So, even just a little Spirit Resist goes a long way. Even just an Enchanter's Emblem here will be very helpful against Graves, because that 18% Spirit Res actually means that even at full Essence Theft, I will still have some Spirit Resist to work with. I'll have about 5% Spirit Armor, so that is just really gosh darn helpful, and it goes a long way. But anyways, hopefully you guys found this video to be helpful. Graves is a tricky character to play against. She deals a metric crap ton of damage. She's got a lot of disruption. She is a really strong character right now, and at the end of the day, she probably could use another nerf. But there is still a lot you can do to take matters into your own hands and make this character a lot easier to deal with than you probably think she is right now. So, yeah, if you have any more tips for countering Graves, of course, make sure to leave them in the comments section down below and help out anybody who's still struggling. And also, like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed it and you want to see more content like this from me. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.